Welcome to Club Reddit, where being a member is always free. Simply mash that subscribe button and relax into a new video each day. Let's start with our first story titled, I guess planes would wait for their passengers in those days. This is a story that takes place during my retail days in the big blue box. A lady comes up to our counter and says she wanted RAM installed. I quoted her the price for the RAM and the install. Don't remember the price of the hardware, but likely expensive since it was DDR, and the service was $40. First, she has a hissy fit over the fact that we had the audacity to charge for our labor. The usual, but it's so easy for you guys, and whatnot. I explained to her that while cumbersome, her laptop is designed to be opened and she can easily do it herself if she wanted, but either way it takes time. This being aside from the fact that if we screw up and break something, we're basically going to have to give her a new machine, so she had better pay something to us. Either way, she was going to have to pay. I guess once she heard the term time, she decided to complain about something else and wanted to know how long it would take us. Even though I can have it installed and tested in under 10 minutes, there were other people in line and other people that had quick work ahead of her, so I quoted within an hour. Standard at the time was 24 hours, but I was being realistic. She pitched yet another hissy fit about how she can't wait for that, and she has to catch a plane. I offered to let her come back later next week, and I'd make sure she was priced the same price for the RAM should it be marked a different price when she got back, and she started going on about how she needed it before she left. I told her we couldn't do it that moment. We have a line that once we clear it down we'll be able to get it done. Evidently, that was the wrong answer. She finally demands the manager. I told her that's fine, but until paperwork and payment are rendered I can't start, so it will only increase the wait time. She was fuming when the manager came by, so he took her to customer service to yell. At this point, she had to already wait 5 minutes for him just to get there. After about 20 minutes, we get the line down, and I spend another 15 minutes getting simple hardware installs done. I think it was a network card and 2 other RAM installs, nothing difficult, but if drivers fight or a case is designed to take 587 screws to access the slot, it can take a bit. Since I've already finished what needed my immediate attention, I decide to take care of other duties while my co-workers handle the other machines. I go over to customer service to pick up returns to be tested, and lo and behold, she's still there reaming out the manager. I get a deliciously petty idea in my head, and now that it took root, I had to do it. I pass by him, make sure to tell him quite audibly, "Hey, I finished off with the front counter machines. I'm going to grab and start testing these since there isn't anything else for me to do right now." She may have been smart enough to know what I was alluding to. While she's glaring at me, I look her straight in the eye and say in my most concerned and clearly unable to pick up on social care's customer service voice, "If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. What are you still doing here? Didn't you have to go catch a plane?" The look she gave the manager could have melted stone, and he looked at me like Wile E. Coyote right before he gets hit by a train. He later told me about how much he wishes he could throw me into a volcano, and we all had a good laugh. He also mentioned how she just kept going on about missing her flight for this. You know, the one over the service she didn't want to pay for, to install the hardware she didn't buy, that she waited for the manager to complain about, then willingly opted to complain about for 40 minutes instead of actually catch her flight. All of which of course automatically made him not believe a word she said, given there was nothing holding her there and she could have left at any time. Next up we have entitled Celeb and the Satisfying Crunch. Back in my 20s I worked as a counselor for a camp with a space theme. We hosted numerous VIPs at special events, fundraisers, and launch parties. For the most part, however, we were a day-per-week camp for children to learn about science and space stuff. The special events were always scheduled for times when the children were either off-site in the dorms, during the off-season, or the building was divided and closed off to separate the groups. In the early 90s, our program director decided to accept an offer from a popular cable music channel TV host of the time to film for a couple of days in our facility during a weekly kids session. He reasoned it would be good for business and would help push our attendance in the off-season. A small group of children were selected to follow this comedian, as they had parental approval for the TV release. To say this man was an entitled, arrogant butt would be an understatement. We had strict safety rules in place for all campers for obvious reasons. The equipment we used had to be held at all times by staff as it moved and behaved as if it were in either a different planetary atmosphere, or in complete zero gravity. This was to give the campers as much of a lifelike experience as possible in a safe environment, safety straps, boundary lines, height limits, etc. Our entitled butt of the story hated being put on a leash. He was playing to his demographic young teens who thought his crude humor was the best. The counselor assigned to babysit the entitled butt struggled to keep up. He was torn between doing his job, being starstruck, being on TV, and being a hero to his group of kids. The rest of the counselors had our own groups and tried our best to keep them focused on their own activities, but it was a losing battle. It was hours of us literally watching this guy climbing railings and bleachers, disrespecting staff, inappropriately grabbing female counselors, cussing in front of the kids, and making our entire camp look extremely unprofessional. Our program director was horrified and tried to stop filming, but apparently the contract allowed for all of these shenanigans. The final straw happened near the end of his first day of filming. He was strapped into a mock simulator of a moonwalk machine at the time that allowed you to walk as if you weighed 1/6 your current weight on the moon. This machine was spring-loaded, padded, and had numerous safety features. Entitled Butt broke free of babysitter's grasp of the machine and jumped a few times, testing his limits. He bottomed out a couple of times, but nothing too bad, just knocked a little bit of padding loose. A few of us counselors knew what was coming. Entitled Butt took a running start and a giant leap. The spring snapped back, pulling him about 10 feet into the air, and he came down hard. That little bit of padding he knocked loose earlier was the padding on the bottom of the machine to cushion the blow in case a child jumped too hard from about 3 feet high. It was the most satisfying crunch onto a concrete floor I had ever heard. Filming shut down for the day. He and the film crew left. Yes, he was moving quite slowly. We settled all of the kids down, finished up the day, and retired for the evening. The next morning we were informed that said celeb would not be returning to film due to a scheduling conflict. Rumor had it he had cracked his tailbone. Edit. This chair is still in use but has been modified with additional safety features. Finally, this brings us to help someone once and they'll expect everything. As the title says, if you help someone once they will expect you to just help them all the time, or that you'll just give them stuff. So a while back I was heading to the shop so I could get something for dinner when one of the people who used to live in the apartment complex asked me if I could get her a few cheap bottles of cola. She gave me $4 and asked me to get as many 75-cent bottles of domestic brand cola as I could. I reluctantly agreed because I was in a good mood. Fast forward a few weeks and the same lady came to my door asking for some money to get some cheap cola, or if we could give her some Coca-Cola. Of course we, my significant other and I, said no, that we aren't a charity. It became such a regular occurrence that this woman would come up to our door and ask for stuff including money, food, cola, etc. that I ended up getting really angry and would take a few hours to calm down afterwards. This came to a boil about 5 months ago when during the lockdown she bashed on our door at 4 a.m. demanding that we give her cola or money to get cola. Mind you, this is also when I completely lost my temper because in this apartment complex there was a fairly broad group of people who contracted COVID and I didn't want my husband or I to get it, and I was completely sick of her asking for stuff. So to cut a long story short, if you help someone who just asks you to help without genuine cause, expect to have them constantly ask for handouts. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop us a like and a comment below, and if you haven't already clicked on subscribe, please do, as it helps our channel grow. Thank you.